I think I sent you a spreadsheet from Zero Hedge, which I've been trying to verify if it's true or not. But you could see the bar chart of where the votes came in from for the last couple of elections, and it's always been consistent and only a small shift. But then, obviously, in 2020, the Democrats somehow jumped from about 60 million votes to 80 million votes when every single time they've been getting 60 to 70.
Yeah, there's always some massive fraud going on there.
I think there was, yeah, definitely.
There has to be. I mean, it's just when you look at you and I look at charts all the time in the financial markets, but you look at those charts, it's just it didn't happen. It's nonsense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
But as somebody pointed out, it's actually a good thing that Trump didn't win in 2020 because now he's
could
just
expose
focused
it.
to sort of get a team together.
Yeah.
He's not going to hopefully not going to be manipulated by the deep state like he was before,
Mm.
and hopefully be able to get some of the things done that he said he's going to do. Although I'm still cynical about anyone in politics and all the promises they make and the things that they say. I mean,
Yeah.
I will some of the things that Trump said, some I don't agree with at all, like tariffs, but I'll believe it when I see it when they implement some of these if they implement some of these things that they're talking about.
There's immigration, there's abortions, there's no income tax, all these things he said, and probably no wars as well, which would be good to see. I mean, he said he'd do it in 24 hours. Is that 24 hours already done, or is that
I think I
24
heard
hours
him.
from January
You
when he
know,
comes in?
I think I heard him saying that he's going to do it before he actually takes office. I
Mhm.
don't know how he's going to do that, but obviously, what they should do is just stop sending money to Ukraine. I mean, that's kind
Yeah,
of obvious.
that's my guess. I reckon he's gonna give Putin the Donbass region, who vote Russian anyway, and in the elections, and we can obviously talk about how 2014 was basically a coup funded by the West and Biden, interference with a lot of activities there. But I think he's gonna do exactly that, cut funding most crucially, and then give, say, Putin, you can have the Donbass, and maybe Putin will ask for a reassurance that the rest of Ukraine won't join NATO, which, I can see he just wants a buffer zone, but and why provoke the guy? Basically,
Yeah, I mean, in a rational world, all an American president should be able to do is say we're not going to fund it anymore, which is they should never have been funding it in the first place, and let the Ukrainians and the Russians sort it out amongst themselves. It shouldn't really be for this country to be the policeman of the world, which is totally wrong. They
yeah,
should just leave them to, at the end of the day, why are America or the UK or Europe involved in a dispute between the Ukraine and Russia? They should let them sort it out for themselves. And of
exactly.
course, it was obvious at the start Russia were always going to win. But what's quite interesting from a financial market point of view is that the Russian stock market increased a lot yesterday on
Oh,
the
I
back
didn't
of
know
the
that.
American elections because they're assuming that the sanctions are going to come to an end quite soon. And actually, one of the biggest gainers in the Eurostox index yesterday was an Austrian bank. I think it's called Raffi's Bank. I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong, but an Austrian bank, which is about the only European bank that still operates in Russia. So their shares were up 8% yesterday, which was one of the biggest gainers in Europe yesterday. So that was quite interesting and probably one to watch as
Hmm.
well because the financial markets are very good for using as a crystal ball. They,
Yeah.
they, they predict events into the future.
Hmm.
So you can see by where the financial markets are going what
Yeah.
the future holds in many ways. For example, if you look at when wars start, major wars in any case, it's normally at the major wars start at the bottom of financial markets. So the markets decrease first.
Yeah.
Before the Second World War started, the
Hmm.
markets had already gone down, already experienced the
Yeah.
depression of the 1930s, that already decreased to the low point, and then the war started. So major wars tend to start after the bottom, not near the top.
Yeah.
So looking at the financial markets, I think you could say the financial markets were predicting a victory for someone that was going to sort out the world problems and not going to cause a major war. The world wasn't going to end because of it. If it was, most likely the financial markets would have shown it first if they go by their historic trends. And the reason for that is because markets are really a predictor of human mood, of human emotions, because
Hmm.
it's millions of people participating in real time in the markets, and so they can predict all sorts of things. It's very very interesting.
I was considering doing a video review on, you know, five stocks, and, you know, even including Bitcoin and some crypto. Trump's obviously quite pro crypto. Everything just basically has just a Trump pump as a result of that. You know, Russian, US stocks, as you just said, with the Austrian bank in Europe. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and join our Discord chat room linked in the description so you can see these plays and get in these opportunities when we do.
Yeah, I mean, there was a sort of euphoria yesterday in the markets after the result was known, but I wonder, is it overblown?
DJT is a good one to look at to get that gauge, because it pumped pre-market to the high again, and to in line to where we basically did the video and told people to basically be selling here, and it's pumped quickly back up to that all-time high in a line, and now pre-market we're basically below where we were before the election. It's so
it's done. So all the big hopes that it was going to get $100 if Trump won, as we said, were nonsense, because there are no fundamentals to back it up. The people that were looking for a big gain on the election would have been much better to buy something like Tesla, which again,
he's gonna have connections.
You could make a case against Tesla on the fundamentals, but if anyone's going to gain out of this election, it's going to be Musk and his companies. So Tesla would have been the better punt, because at least it is a real business producing billions in revenue, and with lots of good ideas like the robotics, like the self-driving cars, and so on. Because you can see a case of Tesla being the future, and you can see a case for investing in Tesla. You can even see, you know, I had a quick look at the Tesla chart. I don't know if you've got it, but if you look at the Tesla chart, you can certainly make a case for it going back to all-time highs.
Yeah. I mean, because people are used to basically investing in the future of Tesla rather than where it's currently valued on the balance sheet. I mean, and like you say, yes, it's actually got some things in its balance sheet and operations, which means it's going to be hard for something to get absolutely decimated. But something like DJT, the only thing that, you know, obviously, I think, I don't know if you saw, they did report the other day, literally yesterday, I think 650 million cash, no debt, which is obviously, you know, good, but you've got to compare that to the market cap. There is a scenario where maybe they changed business model and, you know, cut down on the number of shares in issue, where they could turn DJT into quite a big success, but there's too many shares to justify.
Well, I think if they do something else with it, it's not, you know, I don't see how they make money in this social network business, because I don't see how they compete with Twitter and Facebook.
No, they need to do like an investment vehicle or something. Yeah.
I wonder, I mean, as the vehicle of the sitting president and his family, there must be immense opportunities to go and make money by doing something entirely different. Basically, they should have access to unlimited funding. They can go and do probably any deal in the world, but forget the social media thing. They've got to go and do something else. And also,
it's a GameStop 2.0, isn't it? It's not in terms of the squeeze, but in terms of they've got a lot of cash that means they can do what they want, and that's what the sort of companies we like. It's companies that are above their market cap. This is below the market cap, but has cash, no debt. But
it's still the cash is the only asset. It's still only 10% of the market cap. So they've really got to do something major with the cash, and they're burning through cash pretty quickly as well.
Yeah.
So they've got a very short window
before that's gone, and they have to raise again.
It's
like they need to change model. I mean, if they change model, cleaned up the amount of shares in issue, then you know, we're happy to change view on certain things, but we don't need it. We don't need a Truth Social really at the moment. But if it turns into a GameStop, got a load of cash, people are backing it because it's kind of like, oh, what are they going to do next? And then just because they should Bitcoin or whatever, that could send it up higher as well. So
they should absolutely be doing major acquisitions. I don't know what sector, but they should be taking advantage of their position and the Trump brand, if you like, to go and do major acquisitions around the world. I mean, that would be a fabulous strategy for them, and you know, it would make it potentially a great investment. Whether they do that or not, who knows? But that is what I would be advising. Interesting to see what lies ahead in 2025. Is have we reached? I've noticed a lot of people online saying they expect the markets to rise next year, and it's the the start of a major bull market, but we're already up, what, 25% or more this year, which is a huge gain in 1 year. So you have to think that the markets are at the very least at some point going to be pullback. That's been my view for a while. And I suppose the question is, we've got this new American government coming in January. They've made all sorts of promises, not the least of which is Elon Musk says he wants to cut the expense of the government by $2 trillion. Now, I haven't seen anyone doing a deep dive on that as to see whether it's actually possible to do that or not. I think it's not possible to do that. And even if I think Musk could easily find the savings, as you or I could get into any big company or any government department, you could find a load of savings, but just finding them is different from actually having them implemented, because everybody points to the fact that Musk did it when he bought Twitter. He cut the cost by 75-80%, and it's better than ever. It's still nobody noticed. And of course you could get and fire 75-80% of government employees, which would be a good thing, and nobody would notice. But the point is, Musk doesn't control the government. He doesn't own the government. He's not the boss. He can't. They're never going to let him do it.
It's interesting because obviously Donald Trump, people argue, is a businessman, but he has been bankrupt a few times. So it's
I think his companies have been bankrupt. I don't think he's been bankrupt.
That's
I think it's another media thing that they.
Right, okay, there you go. I've fallen for it, even
which is not actually true. He's certainly, like most people in business, he's had business successes, he's had business failures.
Exactly,
When they're talking about his bankruptcies, they're talking about like he had a casino in Atlantic City that went bankrupt. He never went personally bankrupt.
Yeah,
it was his company. So I think this is. But you've got to say, Trump has been an enormously successful businessman. So it's not fair to use that use all the derogatory terms that the media use against him. Because it's just media bullshit. And again, just to get off on a tangent, one of the good things about the Trump win is it's another nail in the coffin for the mainstream media, which is most welcome. The sooner the mainstream media dies, the better. Because they're dishonest, and they're just generally nobody trusts them, nobody likes them. They're unpleasant people as a whole. So another nail in their coffin is a good thing, and that is certainly when you look at all the lies that they were telling in the run up to the election, you can tell why less people ever trust them nowadays, and that's a good thing.
Everything they threw at him, they shot him, they lied about him, they tried to convict him. They just keep throwing more and more mud. They were wrong on the Russia stuff, whereas there's more questions on the Hunter Biden stuff, Hunter Biden laptop. It's amusing. And then, where they're saying he was unfit whilst he was in the Oval Office, saying he was unfit, and then putting someone who's basically a dead man walking inside. It's just the hypocrisy of the left is very concerning as well.
Oh yeah, but what you've got to really admire about Trump is look at everything that they threw at him after he left office, and all this lawfare, as they call it, all these lawsuits against him, and most people could not have handled that. Most people would have given up and not fought all these cases. Certainly not throwing their hat into the ring again for the presidential election. So you've got to really admire the way that he handled all these lawsuits, criminal trials. I think he got a criminal conviction in New York, and he just kept going. I mean, he's a real fighter, a real winner. And
it highlights hypocrisy, doesn't it? Because they get annoyed when he says one thing about election interference, but he's not gone after. I don't think many people they've gone after him, or in fact, no one they've gone after him.
And of course they wanted to bring out the thing in the election. Oh, he's a convicted felon, thinking nobody's ever going to vote for a convicted felon. But nobody believed the bullshit. It was a bullshit conviction. It was lawfare by the Democrats, and nobody believed it. And I think it actually encouraged people to vote for him. It would certainly, if I had to vote, it would certainly have encouraged me to vote for him, even though I don't vote for politicians. But it was really interesting the way that he handled it. Like, I think very few people could have handled it. I mean, on a immeasurably small scale, I've been on the receiving end of that kind of attack from the government and so on, and it's not pleasant. And you have to get through it. You have to fight it. But
that's proof he loves the country. Whereas I think when someone like Kamala or Biden says they love Americans and love nationalism, they aren't entirely truthful in that. Whereas you can see from Trump's actual actions and trying to survive because he wants to do greater good. Even if you disagree with his greater good, then you can at least appreciate he is very pro-American and pro the people because he's trying.
I think he wants to do his best. The question is, everything really comes down to the economy, and can he sort out the U.S. economy and making America great again? Basically means making the economy great again. That's what it all comes down to. And can he do that? I have my doubts. I think bad things are baked into the cake in the economy, the American economy, because they've got this $37 trillion of debt. How do they even begin to deal with that? Of course, the rational way to deal with it would be to default and just say, look, we can't pay it.
Yeah.
We're not paying interest in bonds.
Come attack us.
That's the only rational way to do it, because at the moment the US tax receipts are somewhere around $4 trillion per year, but their expenditure is around $6 trillion per year. So they've got a $2 trillion per year deficit. And as interest rates are going up, that is going to increase the 6 trillion expenses. That would mean a 2 trillion deficit. But that's based on interest rates at like 2.5%. Now that interest rates are double that, the interest bill alone is going to be $1.5 trillion per year, which is more than defense spending. It's not, and this is increasing year on year on year. I don't see how it's possible to sustain it.
Creates a very difficult scenario. No matter what they invest in and what they do, you've got to outperform that interest rate.
He's promised all sorts of things. He's promised a load of tax cuts. So the revenue, if he follows through with the tax cuts, the revenue is going to decrease from 4 trillion to pay for these tax cuts. So that means they've got to borrow even more. And if they have to borrow more, that means that interest rates are going to go up even more, which is going to increase the interest payment on the existing debt, which is the debt's increasing at $2 trillion per year at the moment. And as interest rates go up, that the interest expense is going to engulf the whole budget. So I mean, Musk is right to say they've got to cut $2 trillion per year from the budget just to break even. But where's that going to come from? Because like most Western countries, most of that budget is spent on Social Security. I think is over $1 trillion per year. Medicare and other health programs are about 1.5 trillion. Defense about $1 trillion. So none of that is going to be cut, because they're not going to cut the handouts to the poor. They're not going to cut defense. So what are they actually going to cut? They can't cut interest payments. So that's already at 5 trillion. So even if they cut every other single thing that the government does, like education, like agriculture, if they just say like we're not spending any more money on that, which is again, it's not credible. There's nowhere to cut. I think someone like Musk could easily get in and come up with a plan. But again, does the president have the authority to implement that? I don't think he does. I think they have to get it through Congress, and even with a Republican Congress, these guys are not going to vote for anything that's going to harm their constituents, people that voted them in. And that doesn't take into account also of all the lobbyists and the people that are basically giving them freebies to vote their way. So I think they don't get these things done. There's no change in the
modern world. Great leaders resolve their conflicts with words.
As for me, I like the stock.
Order filled.